So how actually would you describe Freemasonry in a simple and human terms?
It's a fraternity that actually makes good men better. That's the easy way of saying it. But it's of course much
better in what way, Dan?
During the transformation, and I'm not saying about transformation where people can see it from one minute to another, but over time, for me, it's taken more than 25 years to get to where I am now. But by the rituals that you go through, by being a part of this fellowship, you learn that you have to think more about people around you than actually think about yourself. And that's so
it's more about selfless, not selfish. Selfless.
You're going from selfish to selfless, which I think is very important in the society and the communities that we normally join today. Because I used to use the example when you hear people and see people on TV and wherever you meet them, you will normally hear people today say, okay, me and my parents, me and my children, me and my husband, me and my wife, instead of my husband and I, my wife and I, my children and I. So it's a part of the society today that you bring yourself in the front position instead of thinking about people around you, bringing them in the front position. You're talking to people and you're talking with people. It's very important that we learn in the Freemasonry to speak about what we're good at. Developing yourself as a person, not as an ego trip. But,
personal development as such.
Personal development. That's also why I spoke a little about the rituals, is that it's also important to say that it's just a part of it to bring you in the right mood, that we have those rituals, that you can find the structure and find out what structure can do for you.
Hello to everybody. Today we're going to talk about identity transitions, belongings, strategic clarity and leadership as a service, but also as a conscious life choices grounded into Freemasonry. And today I have the honor and the pleasure to have with me today Dan Hejnæs, which is a former entrepreneur and recently elected presiding master of the local Masonic lodge in Horsens. Welcome, Dan. So happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
In my last episode, I was talking about how the nervous system reacts to change. Therefore, I was thinking how the brotherhood aspect of Freemasonry can help leaders build strategic identity and or belonging, for example, because as we know, identity transitions might lead or can be a bridge between chaos and belonging opportunities as such. So how Freemasonry can help with this, for example?
Well, I would say a great part of being a Freemason is, of course, the fellowship between men, the fraternity that you get from being together with people that are aiming for the same goal as yourself. So you feel some kind of, even though you're in a close community, you still feel a kind of freedom being between other people aiming for the same goal, as I just said. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's how I see it. The fellowship between men is very important here.
This can lead to actually an identity as such, because it will be part of your identity at some point, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I would say you actually, your identity, your personal identity, as you see it before you get a Freemason, is being a new part of something bigger than yourself. I know it sounds very mystery and something like that, but you actually feel that when we have 6,000, maybe 7,000 Freemasons in Denmark, and during time you feel more and more a part of this fraternity, which bring you to a new level of knowledge of yourself. During that transformation from just thinking more or less most about yourself, from actually thinking more of part of something bigger than yourself.
So how actually would you describe Freemasonry in a simple and human terms?
It's a fraternity that actually makes good men better. That's the easy way of saying it. But it's of course much
better in
more,
what way, Dan?
during the transformation. And I'm not saying about transformation where people can see it from one minute to another, but over time, for me, it's taken more than 25 years to get to where I am now. But by the rituals that you go through, by being a part of this fellowship, you learn that you have to think more about people around you than actually think about yourself. And that's is
so it's more about selfless, not selfish. Selfless.
Yeah. You're going from selfish to selfless, which I think is very important in the society and the communities that we normally join today. Because I used to use the example when you hear people and see people on TV and wherever you meet them, you will normally hear people today say, okay, me and my parents, me and my children, me and my husband, me and my wife, instead of my husband and I, my wife and I, my children and I. So it's a part of the society today that you bring yourself in the front position instead of thinking about people around you, bringing them in the front position.
Well, what first motivates you to become a Freemason? Curious.
Yeah, of course. And actually, it was curiosity about this. My father was a Freemason too. It's not a requirement that you have a father that was a Freemason, but it just happened. And he asked me twice before I actually said yes. So it was only the third time. And I reached an age of 30 when I have had my career, my business career. I have become my first child. I was married. I was in a position of life where I just went to, okay, was that it? Is there something more about life than just aiming for the goals that you bring yourself to and everything? And that was actually what brought me to the conclusion that why not try something that I didn't know that much about me, bringing me in the red zone, because I have been in the red zone when I say red zone, I think in this box where you feel comfortable. I've been there for maybe 20 years, but in my early days, I was as a part of the military. I was not in my comfort zone, and I knew what I learned from not being in the comfort zone, and being there in the comfort zone for 20 years brought me to the conclusion, okay, maybe I should try to go outside the comfort zone again to bring myself forward. And that was actually,
it kind of started from a self-awareness, isn't it?
Exactly. So that was what's actually brought me to that conclusion that I should try to join the Masonic order.
How was it in the first beginning for you as a person? I mean, what were your feelings or thoughts or impressions, approaches?
Awful. but I need to bring more words to that, because what I just said about being in the comfort zone for so many years and more or less in just small steps at a time, just bringing me to where I was in the age of 40, and then suddenly you was really coming into in an order where everything was new. You had to the ritual. You didn't understand it. You couldn't understand what was said, more or less. The language used was old-fashioned, and all the people. It was more or less 100 people that was totally new to you. So in that way, I was really brought outside my comfort zone, which I, in the moment, when I was there, told me, okay, this is not what I have expected, and make me use the word awful here 25 years later. But of course, it was also exciting. All this new stuff that you had to actually learn from and very soon you get used to what is said, what is done, the rituals and everything, and you could see that I have actually taken the right decision. And most people come to that conclusion after maybe 2, 3, half a year or even a year. You can see that this actually bringing you into a new place in life.
So, what type of person is drawn to Freemasonry usually?
Typically, Freemasonry attracts men in the age between 35 or 45. Normally, they are pretty well functioning in the society, but we also see people that are not that well functioning in the society. For example, veterans being stationed outside Denmark for a while and got PTSD are also inside the order and finds it very good for them to be, because it's everything is clear, everything is functioning by ritual. But it is people in the middle of life who feel that something is not missing, but are coming to the conclusion, okay, that was it. I'm halfway through life, and I've been doing this and that, but is there more to find? So people that are reflecting, because you need to reflect about life. If you come to the conclusion and the awareness of something is missing, it gives you structure, and it gives you
that's a good keyword.
and it gives you companionship that you doesn't find anywhere else, and it gives you 3 or 4 hours each week where you don't have your cell phone in the pocket. You forget the cell phone. You're not checking it. You're talking to people, and you're talking with people. And I will actually say with people is important here, because what it also gives you is the awareness of, instead of being ready to answer the people in front of you, you learn to listen to the person in front of you. And then you learn to answer.
That's such an important matter.
It is, but on the other hand, I actually do understand that in the society we have today, where we need to be online each and every time, you need to speak more than you actually listen to get your goals.
Yeah.
But when you learn to listen, people that you meet on your way to your goals find you very attractive, because finally I find a person here that are willing to listen to me and then answer the questions or argument against what I'm saying. So that's what I think is the most important. I have learned. I'm out of my working life. I sold my company years ago, but I had 20 years where I was a business leader. And I could see that when I tried to breathe the Freemasonry rules that I have learned inside my company, it helped me a lot for my in the company.
So, as a personal level, what actually you have gained from being like a Freemason as such, and what you have seen in others on a personal level changed in them?
A lot of self-knowledge. Patience. I'm not a very patient person, not at all. But I have learned that if I can be more patient, it will help me in my family life, it will help me in my business life, it will help me among friends, anywhere where I go. And also a great sense of, a great part of humility to what the world brings me. Is very important for me. But still, I would say the most important thing is that I have learned to listen more carefully to others. Also learn
patience.
Patience, but also to listen to myself. Actually, the reason why I sold my company, I'm only 64. I say only, but I feel only 64. Was that I was getting too stressed in the having in my own company. It was actually my own company, 100% owned by myself, and I feel stressed going to work. You have to deal with that. Either you can transform your company into something new, but in the age of 60, I said, okay, maybe it's time that I pull back from this kind of life and try to sell my company. And it was the first time that I really learned how much and how important it was to listen to myself. So self-knowledge, patience, humility, and listen to people around you and yourself. That's what it had gained, that I had gained from it. In simple words.
Yeah, sure. Have you seen like a really wonderful, fantastic person that into Freemasonry that actually have had this transformation aside, because it is transforming your identity as such.
Sure.
It is part of that. So
my story is that I could see a lot of role models in the Freemasonry. I picked something from one person and another person and say, okay, this is a role model for me. If I can get there, I have actually done a lot for my family, for my friends, for everyone around me. So I have not met that perfect person yet that I have in one.
No, but I'm not talking about perfection. Absolutely not. Zero.
I don't understand it like that. But I have not seen it in one person. I have picked from different persons what I would like to in the directions I wanted to go. So that's how I see it. But my wife have told me that she thinks that I have become a less impatient person after I have tried to work with myself, bringing myself into a better person than I was yesterday.
Yeah. So at this point, since you have talked about your wife, I have a very important question.
Yeah.
Why is Freemasonry traditionally a male order, and what is the reason behind women not being members?
I think it comes from ancient time. Historically, Freemasonry emerged from male craft skills and evolved within the male social culture. And we are talking about the old, we are talking about the 1200 or 13th century, where all the cathedral was built in Europe, and it was male, it was man work to do that, and it comes from there. It functions as a single gender where men can explore responsibility and ethical development without social roles. And I think it's important that when you're not in the social role of having women around you, men act different when there are women around them, and if they are not there. So I would say, so there are no expectations to you as a man when there are not another gender around you. You could also say, why is it only for adults? Why is it not for children? Also, because if there's children there, you also act different. So it's not about exclusion, but more about focus and method. That's the modern way of saying it. But on the other hand, women is definitely playing a very vital indirect role as our partners, more anchors, mirrors. Ethically, Freemasonry places great emphasis on respect, dignity. Dignity is important here, and responsibility toward women. So the absence of women within the lot does not imply absence of influence or importance. I would say part of bringing a man to being a better version of himself is also in his respect for our partners at home. Today, it's important to say that is not necessarily a woman, but still your partner at home is actually the one you are working for, because it brings so much good to your family life. And finally, I would say about women and Freemasonry, we actually have an order in Denmark.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
I was curious.
So we have it's called Maria Orden here in Scandinavia. It's the same order in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and we have, I think, 8 lodges here in Denmark, in all the big cities, Aalborg, Aarhus, Copenhagen, of course, and Odense. Not in Horsens, but they are still there. But they're not involving in getting. It has been 8 for decades. I would say. Maybe the interest is not there. Maybe women find another way of doing things to evolve themselves. But also, I think it's very important here because now we're actually not discussing, but talking about what can it do for me, what can it do for you. But what is very important is also that the reason why and the motivation from so many people to go into the Freemasonry order is that you also want to do something for other people. But you can only, by knowing yourself, you can only bring yourself to also have to be strong enough to do something for other people. So charity inside the Freemasonry is the most important thing you can actually do. I used to say, are you familiar with the golden rule? Saying treat others as you would like to treat it yourself.
Yes.
And that's actually the if you can get there and doing that each and every day, just a little. As you said,
I think it's so important to understand yourself, your limits, your flaws, your points of strength, and work on those strengths, and also being aware of what are your flaws, because you still have to be aware of that. It's not that you are just thrown away in the garbage. You still have to be aware of what you are good at and what you are not good at. So, and playing on those strengths.
I totally agree. It's just important for me to say it here where we are now, because it sounds a lot of like an ego trip. And it might be an ego trip, but the goal is that it should bring you into a person where you actually are more open to the world around you, and so yes, that's why I bring it up.
So what are the main values that at the core of Freemasonry?
I would say integrity, responsibility, self-discipline, tolerance, humility. Integrity is very important, but it's hard to learn. But self-discipline, responsibility, taking responsibility of your own actions, learning that you cannot transfer responsibility for your own action to other persons. You're responsible not only for your actions, but also for the intentions, maybe the omissions that you do in life, and the example one sets for others. So that responsibility is something that you can learn. I know if you have young people around you, my own teenagers, they're always trying to argue themselves out of something that they have done wrong, instead of just accepting that you do things wrong and learn from it, and then go on in life, but still with the knowledge that you get. So that is what it brings you, and also tolerance. Tolerance, for example, I have to go back to charity. When we give something away around Christmas, where we try to help people that are in a bad social position, I would say, as a younger version of myself, I would say, okay, they have brought themselves in that situation, so they have to handle it themselves. Today, I understand that you cannot, even though I'm trying to work in a way where I take responsibility for my own actions, some are not. I'm not in a situation where they can do that. So you need to help them. And that's another kind of tolerance that I have learned from being a Freemason. that people are not like yourself. If it comes to social status, if it comes to religion, if it comes to where you are political or something else, you need to tolerate that we are not the same.
Well, but I'm really curious, what is exactly your role here in Horsens, for example? We haven't talked about this, to be honest, and I'm really curious. I can't just stop asking you.
But my role is to take care of Freemasonry in Horsens, and being. Normally, you say that to be the leader of a lodge in a town or wherever it is that you are yourself a role model. I'm not a role model to everyone, but you're trying to always be careful about the rituals, to take care of each other in the lodge, that someone is not getting outside the fraternity and always feel that they are part of the fraternity. That's my role. And then there are something boring things like economy and the organization and everything. The tone, the direction, ethical integrity. So that's my role.
Yeah. You talk really, actually, constantly about these rituals. Can we explain, including myself, of course, what exactly you mean by rituals?
Yeah.
It is a kind of veil on, if we talk about Freemasonry.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it's something really dark or something, I don't know.
Freemasonry is the light in the dark. That's what we normally say.
Oh, that's huge.
That is actually huge, but that's what we are working with. Is important because it brings you in this state where you open up your ears, where you are in a mood where you're willing to listen instead of just talking. It's not the first time that you experience the rituals. You will not be brought in that state. You will more or less sitting there and say, what are they doing, and why is that like that, and why is that like that? But during time, you will learn, because the ritual is the same each and every time. Sounds a little boring. Of course it does, but it also brings you in that state of, okay, I know what will happen next time. So I can go inside myself, doing my thoughts. And if you're sitting there for 2 hours, knowing what will be going on, you are actually being brought into that kind of in other. If you go to the Far East, they will probably call it a Zen mode, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
So that's what the ritual brings you, but it also brings you this structure of time. I was talking about the veterans that have been outside Denmark with the military. They find that structure very attractive because they have been in such kind of disorder in their life where they have probably got their PTSD from that. But being brought into the kind of structure that you find in the lodge is important for many people, because what happens, you know what will happen. You are not afraid of what will happen. You are not worrying about what will be the next call on my phone. Will it be problems or not? Because the phone are not actually ringing or doing any bus tone or whatever like that. We taking care of other people is not something that we just speak about. We also actually do it. So no one is left behind during the rituals. You actually have what, I'm not sure about what the right English word will be, but you have two fathers, not biological fathers, of course, but fathers that are taking care of you during the process of learning about Freemasonry. So they take care of you all the way through that, step by step. So you're not left alone in the rituals. You should not be afraid of what they are and what they will bring you, because nothing is expected from you in the first couple of years or even 3 or 4 years. So you can just sit there and learn from what you actually learn. Important for me to say that the Freemasonry or Masonic art in total are not dogmatic. You have no dogmas here telling you this is the right way to be. You set yourself your own goal for maybe I'm an impatient person. I would really like, when I started, I would really like to learn to be not so impatient as I actually are. That was my goal. I learned more goals by my self-confidence. I found out that by learning by myself, more about myself, that there was much more to aim for. But still, so what is my goals are not the same goals as my friend besides me on the left or the right side of me. So we're not telling people how they should be, but what they could be.
I was wondering, what does leadership as service mean in this context of Freemasonry?
Some people are natural born leaders.
That's why I'm asking, and I was telling, I was talking about this.
That's a fact, and some people are a long way from being a leader of other people's and leaders of their own life. The last thing is probably the most important, because taking hand on your own life and come to that knowledge comes from self-awareness of not being perfect. But if you can come to that conclusion that you are not perfect,
and you don't have to become perfect as well, because these are very important to point.
Yeah, exactly. And if what young people get from social media today, etc., they learn that everything should be perfect. So if you can come to that self-awareness that it's not possible to be perfect, and it's okay being non-perfect, and you can move from there, then you can actually become a very good leader of your own life. And might be able to actually bring that to your work side of life, if that's what's important for you. Because I would say the most important is leadership of your own life, and what comes out of that. The effect of that is up to each and everyone, what they will bring it to from there.
What inner qualities are essential before even considering this path, becoming a Freemason?
It's hard to say, because I would say Freemasonry is for everyone. And if I extract some values that are important, I have willingness to reflect. I think
so important. Again, there are so many things that can come by just being willingly open to something that you actually might be interesting to experience, to learn, to understand, to whatever that might be, isn't it?
I totally agree. Imagine that you are facing a new person, and that person tells you, I'm a reflecting person, or are saying, I'm willing to learn how to reflect. It's two different kind of persons that you're actually meeting there.
Exactly. Thank you. Exactly.
And the first one is it's uphill, but the one meets you with, I'm willing to learn more. It's much easier to talk with a person like that.
Absolutely.
And then you should also be ready to accept guidance.
That's a good point as well.
not guidance as a rule book or something like that.
Okay.
But if people are telling you that, actually we when we work with the rituals are a way of doing things exactly the same way today as you did it yesterday, and tomorrow do it the same way as you did it today. And that's also a part of learning that you to accept guidance, the willingness to reflect, the willingness to accept guidance without feeling that you're losing anything of yourself when you accept the guidance. You need to be ready to do some inner work with yourself.
So we start from there. And then, for example, how does Freemasonry shape the way a person lives its personal life, for example, in everyday life?
I think that patience is a part of it, because when you learn to listen, you also show some kind of patience, openness to other people. You could call it maybe tolerance, but to be willing to meet other people that they actually are, and then since I would say you learn what you can get from growing as a human being, because when you have those small successes in the beginning, you see, okay, it actually matters when I work with my patients, and it actually matters if I'm ready to take the guidance, because if I take the guidance next time, I will be a little bit better, or maybe I will fail, but that's okay, because no one is perfect. So that is what you actually get.
Mm-hmm. So how is responsibility understood inside the Masonic tradition?
It should be understood like, okay, responsibility is something that you take even though it's tough. So when the going gets tough, the tough Masonry still gets going, because it's easy to be responsible when you're in the green zone of your life. But when you're actually in the red zone, you still need to show some responsibility amongst other human beings, amongst your family, or even just the person sitting just next to you. If this person is crying or whatever, or speaking too loud, you need to take responsibility for your actions.
It's a constant responsibility. Yeah. I would highlight constant responsibility as a value, core value inside the Masonry, isn't it?
Yeah, very precise. So you need to be responsible all the time, not when you feel comfort with it.
Only
when you feel comfort.
Wow, this is really wonderful. So at this point, arriving to this point, I wonder, what is actually often misunderstood or mythologized about Freemasonry?
It's been something that to many people are dark. It's a dark spot in their knowledge, because we have not been very good. We have not been very good in the organization to speak about what we actually are, and that's also why I'm sitting here today.
Thank you for that, really, very much. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you that I can be here, but still, it's very important that we learn in the Freemasonry to speak about what we're good at. I say charity. I say developing yourself as a person, not as an ego trip. But,
personal development as such, isn't
personal
it?
Development,
self-awareness, responsibility, right?
Yeah. So, and then we also, that's also why I spoke a little about the rituals, is that it's also important to say that it's just a part of it to bring you in the right mood, that we have those rituals, that you can find the structure and find out what structure can do for you. Yeah, so it's not very big mystery.
Just being curious, but diving in that experience as an experience, talking about the Masonry, Freemasonry as such, because I think it's so wonderful. It has so many wonderful values that can be shared with others.
If you want to develop as a person, you can start there to be more open to this and to so many other things. And Freemasonry, we're not a secret order, but we are ordered with secrets. And that's two very different things. And
thank you for explaining that. Yeah.
And the secret thing is our rituals. That's what we keep secret. But our purpose, which I also have already told you here, is actually what I have told you in this program, is to do self-development, self-awareness, more tolerance to people around you, working with your integrity and so on, humility, and etc. That's what we try to work with each and every time we meet.
I would say that's very clear, hopefully also for others. Why is it important to approach Freemasonry soberly and respectfully?
It is important because otherwise we will just be something.
Just another community.
yeah, but we might be not. We might be something taken out of a session with the Monty Pythons or something like that. You know, if we don't have this respect for it, that's also why we are using the tuxedo as our uniform. Because we want to show that this is all done in the respect of life, for life. And you can only do that if you put yourself into a uniform that shows the most, in the respect of what we're doing, we use the uniform and not just some single clothing with a t-shirt and some shorts or something like that.
I mean the dress code as such.
Yeah. Thank you. That's what was the word I was missing.
Yeah.
We show it already in our dress code. Otherwise, we will be something.
Which is mandatory, of course, isn't it? As far as I know.
Yeah, it's mandatory. Yeah.
How does Freemasonry relate to modern life and modern challenges, as we have also spoken a little earlier?
I would say it encourages awareness. That's brought into everyday decisions. How you speak to other people, listen to other people, how you work with other people in tolerance of they might not get the clue with a certain job as fast as you do, or the other way around. So it's more about ethic, responsibility, rather than it's just that you're not doing things just by habit. You actually try to think through, and you fail each and every day. I fail, but still, if you just have this in mind that you should try to think before you speak, you will get a little bit better, maybe over 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, as I say, it's easy to say, hard to live by.
Still, of course.
If you don't say it, you are not aware of it.
What kind of life choices does Freemasonry ultimately invite us to make?
We just spoke about awareness. It's been a while since we have.
You become more wiser in some sense.
Yeah, you get wiser, but you also, I would say, a way of being wise is also, from my personal experience, learning that people I would never have spoken to by a reception or something like that, much more older people than me, brought me to the self-awareness that even though I think this person looks odd or something like that, but wow, I learned a lot from him or her. That's a life tour that really gives you a lot, being a 40-year-old man or woman, so to speak, because that awareness brings you on a whole other track of your life from what I came from. That other people have so much more to bring to your life than you expect. That was a tour for me. But that's from my personal point of view. I think that other people could bring more other examples in here, but that's also fine because we come from different points in our life when we enter the order.
Well, what makes Freemasonry different from other communities or personal development paths like such? Yeah. As we have talked a little like earlier about this, it's just a slightly tiny bit.
But we're not a regular society as you do when you play football or tennis or whatever.
Who is Freemasonry not for, and why is that important to say openly? Because it's open to everyone, but still, as we have mentioned, you have mentioned earlier, that we still have to talk about values.
We want to be a part of a business network. Don't go into Freemasonry. The only business we do there is actually working with ourselves. which is
within yourself.
Within ourselves, yes. So it's not for those who are seeking power, status, or shortcuts to get a better persons.
Thank you for saying that, because I think a lot of people still have this kind of in their minds.
They think it's only for rich people that are already
That's why I'm saying.
in a high society position.
Exactly.
So don't go there if that's the purpose of joining Freemasonry. But if it's for, as I already said, working with yourself, within yourself, then it's a whole other story. Then you're very, very welcome.
I'm curious. I have another question, if you don't mind, Dan, please.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. I always wondered about this. Is it any difference between a Freemason lodged in Denmark and a Freemason lodged in Italy, for example? Is there any difference, or is the same?
The ideal is the same, but the way you do, the way you get there is also the same, but by the rituals or something like that, it can be different in England, France, Italy. In Scandinavia, we have the same system in Iceland, Norway, Finland, Sweden, Denmark. But just going outside Denmark, going south, you will find other ways of approaching it. But the goal with working with yourself, inside yourself, is the same.
Thank you for answering to that question. It was very important for me, to be honest.
Yeah, but fine. I'm happy to be able to.
We achieve and arrive to that point where I have the last. It's not quite a question. It's more of a reflection, reflection. So it's more personal. If you could write a short note to your younger self before your business success, before your leadership roles, before becoming a Freemason, what would you remind yourself about, again, responsibility, values, and the kind of life you worth committing to?
Wow, tough question. Actually, bringing myself to a point where I should think about where I was 25 years ago, even 30 years ago.
It's not easy. It seems easy, but it's not.
I'm telling myself that I should focus on where you are now, on the path you are on your way now, not where you're heading. Because it's on your way to reach your goal, you actually learn. It's not when you reach your goal. And I'm saying that because being very impatient, I've always been on my way to something new and forgot to learn what I actually learned on my way to my goals. I hope that makes sense.
It makes sense, and it's touched me so very much on a personal level, literally. Discovered this self-awareness of not being for such a long time, years, been able to understand, and more than that, accept the fact that I have to enjoy the process. It was so wonderful when I realized it and had this self-awareness, then things are coming into your way so much easier. So Dan, thank you so very much for being here with me and us today. For those who actually might be interested to become a Freemason, how and who they might reach to you or to someone else. Thank you.
They can reach me. Maybe you can bring our homepage address in your comment field or something like that, so
they will have that.
Yeah, so they can get in touch with us that way. That will be fine.
Again, Dan, thank you so very much for your time and the willingness to share with us so many wonderful informations and thoughts and emotions.
Thank you for the invite. Thank you for being here. Everything good to you and people around you and out there.
Thank you. This conversation with Dan was not about secrets or symbols. It was about responsibility, inner alignment, and leadership as a service. A calm, sober exploration of Freemasonry as a human path. One rooted in self-reflections, values, and conscious life choices. An episode for those who sense that true leadership begins within and that belonging is built through integrity, not noise. So if you are interested or want to have more information, you can use this website 9fhj.dk. Please support Rewire to Rise by subscribing to the channel. It will mean a lot to me. Until next time, stay sharp.